Again, welcome. And if you just join us, I'm Yvonne Ashton with Mayesh Wholesale. Welcome to the show, guys. And today I am super excited because we are switching things up a little bit. We are going to start the show with my friend Ryan O'Neill of Stem Counter, and he is going to talk about how to go from consult to book. We will try to take some questions for Ryan at the end of his chat, and then we'll move on to the rest of the show with Dave and Shelley. So let me just bring Ryan on. Turn on his mic and turn on his video. And there he is. That was so easy. Hey Ryan,
I'm doing great.
you?
How are you?
I am good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's good to see a lot of floral connections like Tracy out there.
I know. I love it. I love all you guys that keep on watching every month. So I know it's hard because I have a show that I watch every week, and you know, it's sometimes tough to tune in. But also, before we get started, I will have a replay of this video, which we will post on our blog with all of the show notes and all of that good stuff. So that will be on probably tomorrow or Thursday, and just depending on the time. So look for that. If you guys have to leave early, no big deal. Or if you're missing this, no big deal. I understand. So we'll get started with Ryan. What do you want to talk about, Ryan?
Yeah, so we were chatting the other day, and I was thinking a big thing a lot of florists have been asking about lately is that question of, you know, you've done the work marketing, you've invested money, a wedding wire, the knot, or a wedding show or something like that. You've not only done that, you followed it up with your contacts, and you've got a consult with them. And so the question is, how do I go from having that consultation to actually booking them? Now, obviously, there's a wide variety of florists there in the industry. We find a lot of our specialty in the wedding and event and larger events, but some of this stuff even applies on the retail side. And I found that there are typically three principles, and they're really simple, but these three things have to happen for someone to book you. And the first one is that they like you, or at least they can stand and put up with you for the next 8 months. And obviously there's a little bit of reciprocity that we just released a blog post about how to know when a client's not for you and how to let them down. But for the client side, the most important thing is that they like you, that there is some sort of connection there. We have seen so many times, and I know with us, we started our company from scratch here in St. Louis, Twisted Willow Design. We really didn't know anything about the industry. We didn't think we had any competitors in the area because we didn't find anyone who did the style we did, just starting out, until we started finding out the right places to look for wedding and event florists. And we found that there's a lot of incredible florists in our area. And I'm glad we didn't find that out too early, because we might not have even started our company. But because we didn't know it, we started it, and we grew the company. And we found so many times when we go to a consultation with someone and we get the quote back to them a week later, and in the consultation, my wife was like, man, I loved them. We connected. I saw their vision. They knew that I could make it. And then for some reason they booked with someone else. And it was so frustrating for us. And we realized the issue was that connection, they forgot about that connection that we had. So if it's going to take you a longer time to be able to get a proposal back to someone, just make sure that you have a way to help them remember that connection, whether that's sending them an email with specific details. I'm a huge advocate of giving a proposal in the consultation. Obviously, if you don't have a software or something like that, that might not be always a potential for you. But the sooner you can get that proposal back to them, it's not necessarily about getting the proposal so much as you've built a connection with them. They love you. They like what you're doing. They like your personality. They know they're going to enjoy the process with you. So that's the first big thing, is just making sure that they like you. And a side note on that, don't fake it. There are so many times when you really want to book a client, you want this wedding. Don't become somebody else in that process, because they can tell and you'll lose it. Just be yourself. I have known some people that had some of the most dry personalities, but the brides liked them. So whether or not they were laughing and going out for Starbucks after, that didn't matter. What mattered is they liked them for who they were, and don't try to be someone else. So that's the first thing. The second thing is they trust you. That's the big thing is, so I like you. This is somebody I can connect with. This is somebody that catches my vision. And as a person, I like you. But if I don't trust you, if I don't have photos of your work, and this is always hard. This was hard for us starting up. This is always a difficult thing. You want to make sure that you have photos. You want to make sure that you have some of your work that you're showing them in a consult. You want to make sure you're emphasizing that. If you're going to move up market, that's currently the direction we're moving with our company. We're about to the market that we want to hit. If you're going to move up market, then you need to be flipping those new photos. You don't need to just have bouquet photos anymore. You need to start doing some tablescape arrangements. You need to be doing chuppas and flower circles and all these different things that are popular right now. You want to be able to speak to that audience. And so they need to be able to know, I trust you. We've had an event where my wife was pregnant at one point, and one of the brides said, well, what happens, what happens if, you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby or something like that. And they became really worried about that. And that's legitimate fear. We aren't a huge company. We don't intend to be an 8-figure company. We're in the low 6 figures in our revenue each year. And that's where we want to be. And so it's a legitimate question. So we basically had to encourage them and say, you know what, we have a team. We have, 6 or 7 different people that are working for us on a particular weekend. So if anything happens, it's not just us. If you're a bigger company, that question may not come up. And there may be other trust questions that come up. Do I trust that they catch my vision? In this consultation, am I getting the vibe that I'm completely lost? I was sitting in a Starbucks the other day, and it was a DJ, a wedding DJ, and I couldn't help but listen to the conversation. It was him with his clients, and the entire time he was talking about him and ideas that he had, and the clients weren't saying anything. And I got this incredible vibe that he's like pitching everything of his, but he's not. I didn't feel like they were trusting him that they could catch, that he was catching what they wanted. So that's a big thing. It's just making sure that they can trust you, both in catching their vision as well as in making sure that they trust you in the stuff that in the work that you've done and that you're going to come through. And the last one, and it's not the most important, but it definitely is something that they can't go by without, is that they can afford you. So they like you, they can trust you, and they can afford you. And if in your consultation, you can prove them that those 3 things, they'll book with you. But they have to know those 3 things. There are some people that say, well, I need to go to all my other consultations first. And some people really do have that implication, but if they like you enough and they realize that there are some additional factors like time sensitivity and stuff like that, that's going to be a big deal in them deciding on the spot. Now, part of this is your job too. If you want to book somebody on the spot, you've got to prime them. Before they go into that meeting, they've got to know there's going to be an opportunity for a decision point. I'm stepping out of the shoes of our shop and more of as a stem counter. Stem counter is a florist software for those who aren't familiar with it. We started our shop and we were really frustrated with proposals and how much time it took. And we had to use 18 different softwares to keep up with everything our shop did. So stem counter basically has reduced all that for us because we wanted to reduce that time. But as a stem counter, if one of you, as one of my potential clients said, hey, Ryan, I want to do a demo of the software. Before we do a demo, I'm sending you an email that says, hey, here's the stuff we're going to go over in the demo. And at the very bottom, I say, and hey, if you have anybody else in your shop that's a decision maker, bring them along, have them on the demo, because I'm going to offer you a special deal only on the demo. And I prime, and this is me speaking as somebody where those who are watching this, you're my potential customers. I want to make sure that you know that there's going to be a decision point. I'm going to give you a special deal that's only available during that demo. The same way, it doesn't have to, obviously there's a different relationship when you're going business to consumer versus business to business, but you have to have that decision point and have primed them to realize, okay, there's going to be an opportunity in this to book them. And so many times people miss out on that opportunity because they haven't done the legwork beforehand. And so for us, we let them know that they can book with us on the spot. We actually hand them over the proposal. We do our proposals with stem count in the consultation. So my wife, she gets her entire proposal done ahead of time, all of the details that she does know, what colors are there, what the general flowers that are going to be involved, or that she thinks based on their Pinterest board. She'll drag and drop photos from Pinterest over, and she'll get all of her template and all of her work done ahead of time, so that when she's in the consult, she's focused on making sure that number 3 item that they can afford her is getting solved. So she can be able to pop in those numbers, be able to look at it. She doesn't just ballpark. Some people do ballpark, and that's okay. There are some so what I call conceptual florists. They look at something and they say, okay, well, that's going to be $250. But I'm seeing a lot more florists, and it's just a general shift in the industry of florists who are saying, no, I want to know every single flower that's going to be in it. And that is hard to do during a consult. But if you do all your other work ahead of time before you walk into that consult, all you're doing is popping in your flowers, and then you're able to find out what is that price, what is the price for this going to be. So that's a huge deal, because at the end, there are times my wife will say, okay, well, that's $8,000. And we can really feel them out at that point in time, because she can flip it around. She has an itemized line item. And if it looks like you just rained on her wedding day in her face, my wife can say, well, maybe we don't need to do peonies. Let's step back and let's see if there's another attractive flower. And at the same time, if she says, oh, that's it, my wife can say, well, let's talk about that other Pinterest picture you sent to me. And you can be able to upsell at that point. So you're able to sort of feel them out. Because I'm sure this is different everywhere else from St. Louis. But in St. Louis, most of our brides don't really have a great idea of their budget. And maybe it's different everywhere else. I don't know.
No, I tend to agree with you, Ren. I feel like because most brides, this is their first time ever really buying a large amount of flowers and centerpieces and things like that. So, and I talked about this a little bit before, but I feel like there's such a taboo on how much things cost. That's kind of my little platform. I like really would love to see florists talking about when they're posting about things, or maybe even on their blogs. And I don't really like seeing pricing on Instagram and things like that. But when you're getting people into your blog, which that's one of the reasons why it's so important, like talk about, here's this beautiful styled shoe, and this is about how much things like this cost, and talk about that. So that way, people know that information, and it's not such a huge sticker shock.
100%.
Yeah, and Tracy's talking about, I'm sick of people undercutting. And so, I think if people are more maybe transparent with kind of what they're charging for things, I think that will help the industry overall kind of, band together to make sure that you guys are getting what you need to get and what you deserve for your artistry.
Sure. And that's the thing. I mean, when someone, their entire life, they're used to going in and getting flowers and paying $50 for an arrangement, even that in their minds, well, that's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going to go ahead and spend $50. Well, when you multiply that by, 30, 50 times, because they're getting 30, 50 times more stuff, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, that's me stretching myself times this many times. I think someone needs to start a blog of just like, what did that cost? And they just take famous movies and Instagram photos and commercials that have flowers everywhere. And they just say, hey, here's what this entire thing costs. And just an education deal on it.
I would love to do that. If anyone wants to help me, I've actually threw that out to a couple designers and nothing happened with it, but I would be willing to post that information on our blog. Like, hey, you guys send me those pictures, send me how much it costs, or like maybe we can have like someone design something and then we post that and everyone kind of, because everything ranges depending on where it's in the country too. So I would love to do something like that. So if anyone's watching this and they want to volunteer,
and that's
talk to me.
I think what you said that right there is very specific too, because people need to list a location in addition to what the items are, because we have florists on our software from Australia to Zimbabwe, from A to Z, and stuff changes. And some simple stuff that you would never assume would be so varying, really does, just depending on the location, 100%.
Exactly.
So I got a couple of final tips, and we'll do some questions, but on some, so if they have those three things, here are some tips. The first is just make sure it's convenient. If you want to book someone, don't make them go through a trial by fire to be able to get there to book you. There are times, I know for me, when someone said, oh, great, let's work together, and they send me stuff and I'm unfamiliar with what they're sending to me, and so I'll shy away from it. So don't send something that's so unfamiliar to people that it scares them away. Which, again, if you do have a different process, there's nothing wrong with having different processes than all the other florists in your area. Just be sure you've primed them. So whatever they get from you, obviously if they're a bride or a groom, they might be new, and so they might not have that fear. but make sure you've primed them and said, hey, here's the steps that are going to go through it. In our consult, we actually have a little walkthrough checklist, and then we actually just released a blog post on that a couple months ago of our the things we give in our welcome packet. And one of them is a process, and it's just an entire timeline for everything they're doing with us, so that even before we've asked for their money, they already understand I've got to sign the contract, I've got to pay for my down payment. So make sure that you've primed them on that convenience. But the other thing too, and this has been a big reason for us that our software is growing so much right now. There are times my wife she'll get done with a proposal. If she doesn't hand it over, if it's an exceptionally big wedding, she may not hand it over in the wedding. In the consult. But if she's working on it, there are times that she'll get it done at 10 o'clock at night. She'll email it to them, and in 15 minutes, they've paid and signed. They're sitting in their PJs watching Netflix, and they get it on their phone. We have mobile-friendly proposals. So make sure if you're using the software, make sure it's mobile-friendly. Make sure if your client experiences that they can pull it up on their phone, and that they can actually sign and pay with it. Don't make them go to 17 different links. Be sure that they have one spot where they can go to sign and pay from the same spot if you're going to use the software. So that's a big deal for convenience for booking them. And the second big thing, and this was actually a tip that we pulled from, I just lost her name, from Posh Peony. She was Christina.
Christina,
she was on this one. Yeah,
she's so cute.
She
I love her.
Such great, very strong points about some stuff that she does on proposals. And I'm going to see if I can screen share really quick here. Let's see. Cool. So one thing that she said she does, she goes down, and we actually have, she does something similar to this. But it's basically in STEM Counter, we have a possibility section where this is not included in this main price right here. It's just in the possibilities. So let's say your client wants, they've got an idea. I'm sure that none of you have Pinterest brides, but just in case one of them sort of grazes in off of the plane, and have just an incredible photo that they want to see. This isn't a centerpiece, but I'll just do it for the fun of it. You can drag their vision over. And that's another big thing. Make sure that you're connecting with them, and that the pictures and stuff you include connect with them. And that's part of the trusting you stage of things. But you could have a regular centerpiece option number 3. But in this possibility section, say something like, if you book with us in 24 hours, we'll give you these rental upgrades for free. So here's the important part. Those are going to be sitting in your shop, wherever your storage, for us is our basement, wherever your storage area is. They're going to be sitting in your shop the day of her wedding anyways, if you haven't already booked them out. So why not give a free upgrade if they book with you in 24 hours? So you're not out any money, but at the same time, you're giving them an incentive, a decision point. And in fact, it's not a bad idea to give 2 decision points. Like, hey, if you book with us on the spot, here's the upgrade. I'm a big fan of what someone said at the Wedding MBA once, where they said, don't give discounts, give add-ons. To book someone,
yes, I love that.
It's one thing if you're given a military discount, you're just trying to be kind through those means. It's another thing to be like, well, I'm going to undercut myself so that I can get you as a client. That's not a good process. It's much, much better to say, hey, we're going to give you better service, or we're going to give you some better options for centerpieces if you book with us. And this is a great, great idea for those who would utilize that. So let me jump back in here. Cool. Yeah, so that's it. I'd love to have any questions to see if I could answer anything that people may have based on what we've chatted with.
We do have a couple. Let's see. The first one is from Shelby. She saw your budget calculator. So she said, you have a great budget calculator for your clients on your floral page. What is the best way for other florists to make
Sure. So this is definitely going to be a blog post, because it's one of the hugest questions we get all the time. In fact, I have one sitting. I've got one sitting in our customer service software that I haven't got to. I try to get to any problems or anything like that first, and so I've got to get to it. That took us a lot of time and effort, and it's not something actually built in the STEM counter because it doesn't count stems. It's more of a general budget type thing. So we actually use WordPress on our site, and we use something called Gravity Forms. And you're going to need a math nerd. So if you're not the math nerd in your family, you're going to need a math nerd to help you out with this. And then you're going to need to spend a lot of time just trial and error testing it out. But we essentially took a listing of different items and said, okay, our average price on this item, or take that back, our base price on this item, whatever this, our bridal bouquet base price start at 125 or 150 or whatever we did. And then based on their if you've gone through and you can go check it out at twistofwillow.co, based on our first few questions, we just create a math formula and say, okay, if they said, I want to have an extravagant event, we're multiplying that base price by 2 on everything. If they say, you know what, I want it to be minimalistic and beautiful and intimate, we're just going to leave it at that base price. If they say they're looking for a florist to come in and handle everything, we multiply it by like 10% or 20% extra. If they say, I'm looking for DIY, nothing, which is not really our type of bride, but we do like to have that budget calculator for pretty much everyone. But if they do that, then we just keep it at that 1. So that's sort of the general overview of how we do it. We just choose all the different potential items, and you can steal everything on our site, all those different items that we have listed. And we say, hey, here are all the different options that you have on this. And then we basically just multiply up based on some of their first few questions, and it just creates a math formula that gives an estimate. And then you just have to do a lot of trial and error testing and be like, oh, I can't do an event for 600, so let me make sure I bump up my prices, because people will do that. We have clients who have they didn't end up being clients, but they went through and they spent a good 45 minutes getting that to the lowest possible price, thinking that was going to be their quote. We'll just reply to them and be like, hey, you know, we do work with a minimum of $3,000. And the other good point is that doesn't show up, our minimum, until it shows the end of their budget. And at that point it pops up and says, hey, here's your estimated that you need to. We work with clients starting at $3,000. So it's not us saying it, it's an automated process, which is great. So we don't have to be the people to break the news. And at the same time, we're still telling them this is sort of where we start at. Sure. So I hope that answers the question. We are going to get a blog post that makes it a little more specific.
I think it does. And then Tracy's comment is she wants you to sell the HTML so she can add it to her website easy.
You know, we use plugins.
I think that's a great idea.
We use a plugin for it. And so I don't even know that there's it's not just HTML based. It's just all within this plugin. So I don't even know how I do that. But if I could, most certainly.
We could talk about that. Maybe we can work on that together. 2 nerds. Okay. Let's see, what else? We have maybe a couple more questions. So what are the most critical questions I should be asking my bride during the first consultation?
Sure. So by saying first consultation, it brings up the fact that there are different florists who handle things different. There are some who they will do 2 consultations. It doesn't matter if you're a $200 client. There are some who only do 1. And there are some that they're not even going to have a consult with you if they haven't asked questions. So I'll just talk through each of those. There are some people, they do a pre-call, which is a great idea. It's just a very quick way to be able to chat with them and say, go over some specific questions and be able to qualify them. That's an important thing. Qualify your clients. We have a form that we actually send out to them before we even meet them. And this is important too, because there are so many times that you get into a consultation with a client. If you don't have any information about them already, you're going to be in a situation where they might not be a fit for you already, or you could have already said, hey, I've got a friend over here who fits what you're looking for a lot better than what I can do. And it's going to waste a lot of time. And we used to do that, but we started introducing at first, we used Google Forms. On STEM Counter, we just released a form tool where they could click on the form and it automatically migrates all of their information into STEM Counter for you. So it's basically an end-to-end system. But I really recommend getting questions in before. And if you want to go, I'm going to see if I can add this link over here. If you want to see what our so this is what our old form looked like. We're shifting this over to our STEM Counter form, but I just put it in the comments there. And you can look at all the questions. These are questions that we get before we ever go into there. And if they aren't willing to fill it out, obviously they they've got a big event. So we want to make sure that they fill those out before we ever meet with them. We do try to get a budget. We sort of use our budget calculator as an easy out to say, well, you know, you need to go to the budget calculator to give us at least an estimate. But we want to know their Pinterest information. We want to know, you know, how many bridesmaids and groomsmen are going to be there. We want to know everything from their colors to you know, how they heard about it. So that's an important question. If you don't ask that, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you don't know where your marketing dollars are coming in. We ask every single client coming in, where did it exactly? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Because otherwise, how do you know? Unless you have really fancy dancy software, and even then, it doesn't always tie back. One more quick question, and then we got to wrap you up because it's already 10:28. April asks a great question. Does Stem Counter merge with Mayesh database so that pricing on stems is automatically listed, or how do I enter that information?
Great question. So we do have an integration with Mayesh's floral library. We are the top in the industry, and it's really cool seeing this grow. At this point, we do have some more static pricing, because obviously you may, depending on your Mayesh location, there's different pricing involved. So it's I would recommend that you add what you feel comfortable with. And what I really would recommend, if you're using any software, and Stem Counter, I even recommend this, as opposed to when you're looking at a wedding 18 months out or 12 months out, you can't necessarily know the exact price that your peonies or your hydrangeas, whatever it is going to be, if there's been a fire in Amsterdam and all of your tulips are out of options. So what I recommend is for you to actually take an average. So use the prices that are built in as a starting point, but then to take it and in your mind say, you know what, over the course of the year, if I do one price for this, I'm going to lose 25 cents here and I'm going to make 25 cents more here. But my average price is sitting right here in the middle. And the other big thing that's going to just make it simpler on you as a florist, so you don't have to try to keep up with, not only do you have to keep up with 5,000 flowers, you would have to keep up with the pricing for each of those in every single season. So I really recommend simplifying that down and deciding what's profitable for you for that flower on an average for the year, with the obvious exceptions of things that, you know, peonies in the wrong month. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Right.
Cool.
It does, totally. Thanks, Ryan. And yeah, we're super excited. Guys, I'll be doing more about Stem Counter here in the future. Now that vacations and workshops and all of that have settled down a little bit. So we're just going to get caught up with all of that and share all of that great information with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for stopping in today and chatting with us. Do you want to let everyone know a little bit more about Stem Counter, or where they can find out?
Yeah, most certainly. So you can go to stemcounter.com, and that's I described it a little bit when we were starting out. We were taking 7 days to get proposals to clients because we wanted to make sure they were accurate. And so on day 6 of a particular client, my wife had spent an hour meeting with her, an hour and a half on the proposal. She opened up her email to send this proposal to her, and she found an email from the client saying, hey, we went with someone else. And so that's 2.5 hours out of her life. And we're like, there has to be an easier way, a quicker way to get this done. So that's when me as the hard-headed husband, I was like, we can get this done. I told my wife, I can get that done in 5 minutes. She said, what? And I said, wait, I need to back up there. I mean, I think I can create a system that could eventually get this done in a lot quicker time. And it's been a fun ride. It's been neat meeting so many florists throughout the process who had the same issue. So that's the big thing we've done with Stem Counter, is just tried to help florists get these out quicker, spend less time putting together wholesaler orders, have all their stuff in one system where they can just have a simplified process and focus on the things like family that they care about more than putting together flowers and counting that peony 18 times.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Thank you, Ryan. And I think we might have a couple of kind of straggler questions. Maybe I can shoot those over to you and we can put those up on the blog with our show notes.
Awesome.
That's okay.
Thanks for letting me stop by.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye. All right. Take care. Bye. Bye, Ryan. Okay, now it's time for the rest of the show. I have Dave and Shelly here with me today to help answer our flower questions. If you watched our past shows, you'll know that Dave, Dave. He's from our Phoenix location. And I'm very excited to have Shelly here with us today. She is our Carlsbad manager. So welcome, guys. And Shelly, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and about your experience in the floral industry?
Hi, sure, guys. Hello, Mayesh world and all of our customers. It's super great to be here with you guys this morning. I'm our Carlsbad branch manager, and I was also a florist, just like you, for 30 years before I started here at Mayesh. I actually have owned 2 flower shops, and I know what it's like to own a flower business and how hard it is and the struggle that it is. So I'm here to help answer some questions about floral design, about owning your business, what it's like to have a business, what it means to have a flower shop to you, to us. We want to help you with your business. I also am a real big advocate for the floral industry and education. So that's what I do here. I help all of our florists, not only with just how to order, but I also help answer a lot of their design questions. A lot of them are trying and struggling every day, and we learn from each other. So they're always trying to figure out what's the best technique for this, and how do you do this with that flower, and should I order this in advance, or what do you do? And so I'm always trying to help them out, and I try to do that every day, and we want to do that for you. And so I'm super excited to join the team here and help you guys. So yeah.
Hey, excited to have you, Shelly. Okay, all right, Dave, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We have a lot going on in the flower world and a little bit of sad news too. So I'm going to let you get on with that. Our purchasing team was amazing and kind of put together some really great updates that's going on right now in the world of flowers.
Well, thank you again, Billy, for saving me on this. For
Yes.
those of you who have upcoming weddings that are featuring things like hellebores, ranunculus, and anemones, you're going to want to check in with your local Mayesh sales rep. There was, this past week, we had a huge snowstorm in Chile, which is where those flowers are being produced right now. It affected their hellebore plantation directly, and 70% of the production in one of their big anemone farms. It destroyed the farm that had the most of the premium ranunculus crop as well. So not good news. This was an unusual phenomenon in Chile. They've never experienced this type of crop damage due to cold weather. There may be other sources available, and we will keep you posted on what and where those might be. And like I said, check in with your sales rep. Pricing may be a factor now.
Okay. Can you guys see the pictures when I'm showing them to you, or is it all?
Yeah, no,
funky?
it's looking better there.
Okay.
So that's Chile right now.
Okay.
Awesome, right?
I know, it's so sad. This makes me so sad seeing these pictures. When this happens to farms, no matter where it is in the world, it's just, it's depressing. So this is the big, huge snowstorm in Chile. All right, I'm going to stop that.
Well, like I said, we'll keep you informed as information comes in as to how we're going to fill those crops. Maybe think about some substitutes. Talk to your sales rep and see what else is available. Sell the texture, sell the color, maybe not the specific flower, and that way you're going to not run into problems. Some other things that are an issue right now, kumquats have been put on the agricultural hit list. Here in Arizona, we can't actually bring them over the border from California. It's illegal. So any kumquat production that we receive has to be grown in state. There are different laws depending on the state you're in, so that's something that you need to check into. But they are on the hit list agriculturally, so probably not going to be available for a while. Local peonies are finished now. Dutch have been stored for several weeks, and we should start seeing the Alaska stuff hit. Actually, I was just up at AIFD in Seattle, and they were featuring Alaskan peonies. They do have some great varieties, but they are extremely pricey. So depending on the Mayesh location, may or may not be able to carry them. So check with your local Mayesh branch on those. Other items like giant allium and aramuris are finished domestically. They are still available as an import out of Holland. So if you're still in need of those products, we can import them. Again, if cost is an issue, talk to your sales rep. Things that are starting right now and that are in full swing are local hydrangeas. Dahlias are starting to look gorgeous. We're getting those big dinner plates in that everybody loves so much. We're also seeing the domestic coxcomb coming in. So, you know, we're into summer. Spring is over, sadly, we're in that transitional period. So, we're trying some Dutch lilies right now, and they're really hot, and they've got some really unique varieties. We're actually running a special with 2 of the growers from Holland. The price and the size compared to the Oregon Oriental lilies, and like I said, with some different unique varieties. So check them out. You know, it's nice to see different items. Domestic Lysianthus production is starting to go down. The heat has affected it. The hot colors like the browns and maroons and the blacks are strictly Dutch imports now, and they're expensive. So if those are things that are on your books, then you might want to consider upping your budget a little bit for those. We will be moving towards importing all Lysianthus production as the heat increases and production decreases locally. So that's about it for the news.
Awesome. Good, good, good. Shelly, you have any thoughts to share? I saw a question while you were talking about this about looking for substitutions for some of the hard to get product. Do you guys have any good ideas on specific products off the top of your head?
Hydrangea is really a great substitute if you like to use hellebore. The colors of hydrangea are similar. There's a lot of really pretty mauve-y, kind of icy colors. Holds up really well. We're still getting some really big, beautiful hydrangea. It's fat and it's really nice right now, so that's a nice one. There's a really gorgeous varieties and colors of carnations. I know carnations have been a much maligned flowers over the years, but you know, we love them here at Mayesh. They've made a huge comeback. There's gorgeous antique colors. There's a color called Crayola Antique. It's a pink and it's a beautiful mauve. Actually, we're making fun of my nails yesterday because they match my nails perfectly. And they are so pretty, and they are the perfect color of the cafe latte roses. They match beautifully with quicksand. So if you like the hellebores, you like those colors, or sophisticated nude color, and they're roughly, so you can use them in and kind of hide them in and use them as an underflower. They don't have the softness of the hellebore, but that's a good color. So it's a sophisticated color. And what Dave said, don't sell specific flowers, sell a color palette. You'll be much happier in the end, and your brides will not be so disappointed. Only really get the flower you need for their bridal bouquet, the 1 or 2 flowers they really want, and try to make sure that you're not selling specifics. You'll always get stuck there. Scabious is a good, also smaller filler flower that's nice to use for hellebore kind of substitute.
That's great tips. Also, purchasing wanted us to mention. They just wanted to do a little disclaimer about how you can't always trust what you're seing on social media, on Instagram. You know, it is kind of a contest to, you know, post unusual items, or even growers and wholesalers are posting things now that are really in short supply or hard to get. I try to be really good disclaiming that if I am posting something that is hard to get or brand new, because usually there's only a limited quantity then. So that's just something to kind of pay attention to, guys. Or even like people will reshare a picture that was taken a while ago and now the product isn't available now. So that kind of stuff is happening a lot. We're seeing a lot of that, a lot of requests from our customers saying, oh, I saw this on Instagram, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can get it right
absolutely. I'd like to address that too, because we are living in a different world than when we were younger floral designers. When I was a designer, when a bride came in, all she had to look at were stacks and stacks of books and photo albums that I had to pay for from photographers. Now the public and you have 24/7 access to social media. Instagram and Facebook, all of the social media, we have access 24/7 to images posted nonstop, constantly. And a lot of these things that we're seeing are also things we're seeing from around the world. I have florists from Australia posting things, and I have customers sending me pictures of this florist has this, and I'm like, yeah, but they're in Australia and that's in their time zone now. So you have to be really aware of where the product is coming from, where in the world it's coming from, and know your product. Educate yourself. Become aware. Don't just blindly see something on Instagram and go, oh, it's available and I can get that. My awesome Mayesh is going to find it for me. You'll learn as you go. But we're here to help you educate you with that. But do know that. I just want to apologize. I am in an open warehouse here, so if y'all hear rumbling, it's my guys. I'll try to mute myself when I'm talking. But yeah.
Okay. I still can hear you clearly, so I think it's okay. Totally fine. All right, so on to the next question. This kind of pops up, I feel like, for every show, right, Dave? Hydrangea questions. So Elaine says she has a really hard time with hydrangea. Tried submerging them when they arrive or at the time of arranging. I've tried alum on the stems, watered it from the petals, you name it, she's done it. Any suggestions? And then Lawanda also says, what is the best way to keep hydrangea lasting in a bouquet, especially in a hand-tied bouquet? I feel like every single show we get this question. So let's talk about that for a little bit, Dave.
Right. And
start.
Those of you who know me by now know that I'm a huge advocate about proper handling and care of flowers. This includes using the right food, managing cold chain, proper hydration. You know, in drier climates like Arizona, it's common practice to submerge hydrangea heads, which is just fine here. But in other climates where it's humid, it may not. It may actually spawn some botrytis growth on your heads. So you kind of have to know your area you're in. When we submerge the heads here, we do them for about 20 minutes for up to an hour. There's other ways that you can accelerate the water uptake. You can take a potato peeler, and I actually learned this from Gabe Smith from Crisol, who is a genius. And I mean, they have scientists and people that are working on all the chemical and all the, the background on these things. But they do a lot of research on stem structures and how they take the different chemicals. She says use a potato peeler and peel off a few inches of the outer dermal layer of the stems. This is going to increase your surface area that's going to actually take up the water below the water line. It exposes more of the xylem, which is a part of the stem which is taking up your water. Also, you can leave your hand-tied bouquet stems longer. This allows you to put them into water and keep them there longer before you're actually presenting them. A lot of the stress that you're going to incur comes from, when you're going between photo shoots and ceremony and reception. So that'll help you add some longevity. Always have a few extra stems of hydrangea handy, just in case you do have a floral malfunction. I mean, it's a sensitive flower to begin with. Some florists
the floral.
And some florists will even build a backup bouquet just in the event that they need it. So those are things you need to consider when you're working in a stressful environment, as Arizona is. Also, I think the last time we posted about eco sponge wraps from Eco Fresh Bouquet, and I think Allie might have the link for that, or maybe she had it on the last one. But those are a great idea, just to keep some hydration in there in between. So there's all kinds of different little tricks of the trade to use. It just depends on how you're using them. So.
Yeah, that's great. Ellie posted the link for Eco Fresh Bouquet. You can check that out. They've been really generous with our workshop tour and given us little samples for all of our students. And this year's design star, Christy Halsey, it's like one of her favorite things to use when she's doing flowers that are out of the water, and even in her like arbor designs and things like that. Shelley, do you have any thoughts to add to hydrangea
there's
before we move
different
on?
kinds of hydrangea. So most of you probably are having trouble with the more tender hydrangea, like white, pink, or early spring hydrangea. Those are the ones that have a more tender flower leaf. There's more antique hydrangeas are later in the summer and fall, and those have a more rubbery texture or like a heavier leaf. So soaking them, like Dave said, that's the most common way to get your flowers to get more turgid. They'll absorb water through the leaf, actually. So a hydrangea flower is actually like little tiny leaves, like a poinsettia. So when you soak those, they'll absorb that. They'll absorb the water that way. It's a really good idea to do that anyway, and soak them when you get them if you're concerned if it's really hot. But I find when hydrangeas go down, usually they're going to go down because sometimes they're already having quality issues, or they may have tried this already, or they have issues already. Usually fresh hydrangeas don't do that. So if you have issues with your hydrangea, let us know about them right away so that we can take care of it for you. And we need to let our growers know when we have problems like that. So just kind of let us know so we can see patterns when we have problems with the hydrangea. That's one way so we can keep up on top of it. But white hydrangeas are the bread and butter of the industry, and those suckers will last a long time. So make sure you're getting them, the little gel packs they come in. When you get those are great for transporting, but don't store them in those. Don't store them in the boxes. When you get them out in your shops, cut them, clean them, put them in water, soak them if you want to first. Make sure you're properly caring for them from the get-go, and that should help that. But a lot of times the pink and blue ones, the big floppy head ones, cut off anything that's broken, hanging, botrytis-y looking already on them. Make sure your hydrangeas are clean. Sometimes it's just because the floret's broken on one. That's why it's wilting. Cut that off. Just inspect them and make sure that they're doing fine. But your later ones, the fall ones, they'll usually dry in the vase. They'll hold up just fine. So it depends on the type of hydrangea it is usually.
Great. We have about 10 minutes left, so we gotta motor on through. So the next question on care and handling is from Casey, and she wants to know any tips on keeping an arrangement fresh longer. She said that hers tend to die fairly quickly. I cut the leaves so that they aren't flower level.
All right. Well, again, everything goes back to properly conditioning your flowers when you receive them. Not doing so is the #1 cause of premature flower death. You have to replenish the sugars in the flower once they're cut from the main plant. The flowers and greens aren't receiving those anymore. Additionally, bulb flowers have hormonal issues as they receive hormones from the tuber, the corm, or the bulb. Another huge factor is cold chain management. When your flowers are going from hot to cold, that's putting stress on them. Think of them like human beings. You've got to treat them and pamper them. They want to be in the perfect conditions all the time. By keeping them cold, you're keeping them kind of in a stasis condition so that they're perfect for when you need to work with them. And you really need to monitor that the whole time. By properly conditioning and storing your cut flowers, they're going to be set up to resist any stresses that occurred during the arranging process, period.
Love it. Shelley,
Just make sure when you get your flowers from us that you're properly processing them. You take them back to your shop or studio. You're trimming all your leaves below the water line, like this young lady said. Recut your stems, put them in water immediately. If you're leaving your flowers out on the counter when you're designing, always make sure you recut your stem. If you don't, your flower is going to seal itself off like a little scab. And when you put it in water, it will not drink. A lot of times when you see hanging heads, that's why you've forgotten to recut the stem. Roses especially, make sure you're not stripping the bark off your roses and you're cutting them or just barely nicking them, taking the leaves off. All of those things really help. It's a lot of times how you're processing your product and making sure you're getting the product in water, you're using proper preservatives, you're letting them drink, you're putting them in the cooler after they've drank sufficiently. And you're not, you're trying to make sure that you're doing all the proper steps. There's a lot of books out there and a lot of research that can be done to make sure that you're checking on how every single kind of flower is processed. Every flower is not processed the same. nor do they need to be processed the same. So you need to do your research as a florist and educate yourself on how to do that.
I have a question for our users, actually. There was a product we used at AIFD, and it's not that new anymore, but it's the Clear 200 from Floral, and it's the no-cut stuff. So if any of you out there in Flowerland are using it, we would love some feedback on what you think, how it works for you. Is it managing, not only water uptake, but controlling bacteria and botrytis and those kind of things? If you have any feedback for us, give it to us. It's something that we're looking into and we're curious about, and we'd like to hear what you think about it.
We're actually using that here at our location, and it works great. We love it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's actually a huge labor saver. So Dave is referring to is D Express. It's a water conditioner that you put into the water, and it's a super hydrator. So believe it or not, guys, you do not have to cut the flowers. And this went against everything I know as a florist. I was like, what? So we seriously can take the flowers straight out of the box and put it right in the water, and it's a super hydrator, and the flowers just drink the water right up. And you can reuse the water, so it's eco-friendly as well. And in California, where we have drought constantly, it's a fantastic way to save water. They actually make an activator tablet that you can put in the water to reactivate it as well. It's crazy stuff. So we're using it here at our location, and it is an awesome product. Saving no chop and drop, Dave. No chop and drop.
No, I know. For labor reasons, obviously, we're considering using it at this location, but we're kind of already in line with another chemical that we're using. So I was just hoping for some feedback on that to see how people think it.
Well, I think we have a few of our customers using it, so I'll ask them too how they're doing with it.
Yeah, guys, and if you're using it, let us know. Okay, we're gonna move on. Oh my goodness, we only have 6 minutes left, so I'm gonna go really, really fast. I can talk fast usually. Marketing news. So Facebook, if you guys don't know, Facebook is rolling out ads in their messenger to everyone. They've been testing it out for a while, and people are loving it. So people will see ads at the top of their messenger app. If they tap on the ad, then Facebook sends them to your desired destination, which could be Messenger, conversation, or your website. So a lot of really great ways to kind of interact with your audience in something that a whole lot of people use. It's millions of people. I didn't write down the number, but it's a really big group of the Facebook population. So check that out, and we will add that link for you guys to look at. On Instagram, did you know that you could place ads in your Instagram stories? Or in Instagram stories, not in your particular story. I should clarify that. This isn't new news. This was announced at the beginning of the year, but I think it was, we started our show after that. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew about that, because Instagram stories is so powerful, and people love it, and it really helps with your impressions. So maybe test out some Instagram stories. Just so you know, and if you're not very familiar, when you want to advertise on Instagram, you do it through Facebook. So Facebook owns Instagram now. You can do it through the ads manager there on Facebook. If you guys don't have an account to do ads on Facebook, I would suggest definitely getting that set up so that we can get started and just check it out. It's just a really cool way to do ads. Let's see what else. So we're going to post the link for doing the ads on Facebook or Instagram stories. Friends and followers can now reply on Instagram stories with photos, videos, and boomerangs, not just text, which is really cool and fun. Again, another way for your community to interact with you and for you to interact with your community. I'm hoping if you have an Instagram account that you're following people that follow you, particularly maybe your target audience type of people. I know that's a little tricky with actual people because a lot of people keep their accounts private, but not everyone does. So definitely pay attention to those stories that are, at the top of your feed, and interact with people. That's how you build your community and build loyalty and brand presence, all of that. That's why we love social media so much. Also, probably the most exciting piece of news on social media right now is that you can share a replay of your live videos that you do on Instagram to your story, which is just amazing. So when I first did my live video, I was very upset because when I did it, it was gone. I couldn't save it. I couldn't share it anywhere. It was just gone, which is fine. That's the beauty of some of this, very instantaneous social media. But sometimes you have a message that is relevant for longer than the couple of minutes that you're live. So now you can do a live story video, and then you can save it to your story, and that will play for the 24 hours. Really great. You can also save it to your phone. So now your content just doesn't disappear. You can also not save it, and that's totally cool too. But I love that. All right. Next up is some flower business. It's more flower marketing business, kind of quasi. I don't know if you guys know, but hopefully you do because it's already July 18th. But July is an American Grown Flowers Month, which is very exciting. So kind of all started with a week, which Deborah Prinzing started. And now the campaign has turned into a month. So let's see. The campaign is to celebrate the value of America's flower farming families throughout the whole entire month of July. So we're going to post a link for American Grown Flowers, their press release talking about Congress declaring July American Grown Flowers Month. So check that out. It's really cool. Let your customers know. We have some flower farm blog posts, which are really cool. We're going to reshare those here coming up. And we also have another Instagram takeover coming up with another flower farm in Detroit. And so look for that, which is always really fun and exciting. We love our American Grown Flowers, and it's just always fun to let people know what those are. They kind of get mixed in, right? And I don't always know which one is coming from where when I'm looking at a picture. So we're going to try and be a little more thoughtful when we're talking about that. All right, so we have 1 minute left and a lot of flower design questions. I think what I'll do is do like 2 of these questions. We'll roll the rest over to our next chat, and then we'll go from there. I'm sorry we ran out of time because we had Ryan on today. I was worried that I wouldn't have enough content, but apparently have too much content now. So first question is from Lisa Ferguson. She just wants to know if we have any new, fresh mechanical ideas for hanging installations. Dave, you want to go first?
Well, I don't know if these are exactly new, but they're the newest trends that people seem to be doing a lot of. And that's where you're gridding out the ceiling of your space and you're actually extending it down with either cut flowers or even ribbons or crystals or that kind of stuff. It kind of creates a false ceiling and it gives you some textural depth. And it's really cool looking. I actually, a couple of my clients that I follow on Instagram have been posting pictures of this kind of stuff. The other thing that's really hot are armatures and creating these giant geometrical type shapes, chandeliers, if you will, and intertwining flowers in those and gems and other things. So there's a lot of really different stuff going on recently in the floral that's, I think, a little bit more artistic, and it goes a little off of the beaten path as far as normal. Shelley, I know you're an expert in this kind of stuff, so what are your thoughts?
Sorry, I muted guys. It's so funny. I've been getting so many crazy panicked messages from my brides about this because they're seeing all this on Instagram now with the ceiling you were talking about. And I don't think a lot of them are realizing that a lot of that is silk, believe it or not. A lot of florists are seeing these beautiful drop installations of all the thousands of, looks like wisteria or delphinium or snaps, but it's almost impossible to do that in fresh and have it do that kind of an installation and have it hold up well, and the size of it. So yeah, that's done a lot of times with silk and fresh combined. So you can do that piece and make it, and then do a partial permanent, partial silk. But that is a huge trend that you're seeing right now. So don't panic, guys. That is how that's done. A lot of zigzagging.
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to add real quick. I'll let you finish for sure. But I just wanted to I've seen Preston Bailey a few times when I would go to all the trade shows, and he always, you know, he's known for the big, huge installations. And his kind of rule of thumb is if they can touch it, it's fresh. If they can't, and it's way up on the ceiling, he typically
David
uses
Beam
silk as well.
Does the same thing.
Mhm.
It's because it's so high up you cannot tell, and most people, you have to remember there's lighting, it's low lighting, it's at nighttime, and most people are not going to realize that it's not fresh at that point. It's too hard to tell, and it's an illusion. You create an illusion, and as a floral designer you do both, and you understand how to use both, and that is part of our skill set as floral designers. We shouldn't step our nose up at that kind of thing, because that's how we create those kinds of things. It's impossible to do it all in fresh, and you just can't. The weight of that alone would bring the ceiling down. You cannot oasis that. You can have dripping water above the heads of your guests while they're eating their very expensive meal. So we have to be realistic in how we're doing those kinds of installations. So, and a new thing also, you're seeing a lot of geometric spheres. That's been popular for a long time, but any kinds of spheres, wire forms, you can custom make forms, zigzagging wires across the ceiling and just draping greens across it, doing lights with that. Anything you want to do that's creative, as long as you have a structurally sound way of putting it up in the ceiling, and it's okay that the venue allow you to do that, then anything's a go these days. There's no rules anymore with what you can do. Be creative. Come up with your own look.
Exactly. I love the hoops too. That's really popular. I feel like there's hoops everything. There's the big, huge hoop kind of arch, and then there's like hoop bouquets now, and everything's circular in a very geometric way, not like a, you know, roundy moundy, but very circular. It's different. All right. One more question, guys. I promise I won't keep you too much after the hour. Okay, so the next question is from Denise. She says, what are the best pairings with white and blush colored peonies for an outdoor May wedding for both simple table arrangements and hand-tied bouquets? Any tips or tricks in working with them? Guys, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. My favorites are garden roses. You know, why have one great fragrance when you can blend several? Texture is everything these days, and garden roses are going to provide not only the great fragrance, but also some textural interest. Make sure when you're ordering garden roses and peonies that you're receiving them in enough time in advance to get them fully open. Time is a factor. It can take anywhere from 5 to 6 days for a garden rose, 4 to 5 days for a peony. So you need to plan that. That's really important. Shelley?
Completely agree with you, Dave. One of the biggest problems I see with my florists picking up is they wait until the very last minute because they're panicked their flowers are going to die before the wedding and not hold up with them. With roses and especially garden roses, get them early in the week, Monday, Tuesday, get them processed and opened up, and make sure that you're getting the full bloom of that rose. If you don't do that, you're really shortchanging yourself because it needs about 5 to 7 days. And so why have it look gorgeous 3 days after the event? I mean, really get those suckers open. I love soft colors with that. And I love our color palettes we're doing right now, the nude, brown, mauve tones with those lighter pink. Takes that sugary sweetness away and gives you a little bit more sophisticated. You can see our Mayesh Lux blooms. We're all about it.
Yes.
Our design star does beautiful color combinations like that too. It takes that kind of girliness down a notch or two. When you're doing those softer pink tones, I like that combination as well. Yeah.
We do too, obviously. Okay, so I know I said 2 more questions. Can we do one more? Because I feel like this one's really important. It's from Eunice. She said, what are some tips you would give first-time florists with no education? Such a great question and so important.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And I think floral educating yourself is the most important thing for no matter what you're doing in life. Knowledge is power. So I did a little research online because I like to Google stuff, if I don't know about things. And I came up with a bunch of different online classes, but the one that struck my interest was the Floral Design Institute. They're very out there, and they actually have some Well, actually, there's a link here where you can check them out. They have all kinds of different programs that they provide online, so with extended learning. So educate yourself. It is truly power. Shelley?
Totally agree.
For
Shelley, what are
me,
your thoughts? I know you have strong feelings about this topic.
I do. For me, the very first thing is if you really want to get your foot in the door as a florist, the best way to do that is to go to a regular brick and mortar flower shop and find the best quality, most high end place that you can, and ask to intern or work at the entry level, whatever that is. Do whatever you can, whether that's sweeping the floor, processing flowers, doing buckets, taking orders. Every one of us started somewhere, and that is the number one way to get your foot in the door. Do not try to go in and say, I'd like to be a junior designer now. That doesn't happen. Most flower shops can't train you. They don't have the time, and they want to, but they just don't have the time. So most of us kind of learn from the ground up. Having said that, how do we get training? That's my biggest question. How do I learn to become a floral designer? Well, in our industry, we haven't tackled that very well. There's classes, there's workshops, there's schools that do that. Really, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to take real workshops that teach proper mechanics, that teach you actually how to design. The Floral Design Institute is a good class structured school that's more on trend. There are colleges that teach classes. Don't be afraid to take basic floral design school classes because, number one reason, you're going to learn basic floral design concepts and mechanics. Even if they seem FTD or basic to you, you still need to understand how to do it. Your artistry will come into play later, but learning from each other and copying things and seeing things on Instagram will only get you so far. What's going to happen when that trend changes or things change? You need to learn and understand basic mechanics. I teach a workshop at our location. We just started that series because I see so many of my florists struggling all the time. Some of them do beautiful arrangements, but they don't know how to put a corsage together. So you do need to understand that there are basic principles of design that need to be followed. The mechanics are very important. I always say it's 70-80% mechanics. The rest is your artistry. If you cannot understand the basic mechanics, then you're not ever going to become a fantastic designer. It's easy to make something look pretty with 1,000 expensive flowers, but if you really don't know what you're doing, at the end of the day, you're going to not be a confident designer. It's going to take you longer to get your work done. You're always second guessing yourself. You're always over ordering. You're always buying too much product. You're wasting product. So try to take classes that actually teach you something. And workshops are great, and they're great social events. They're fun to do, but make sure they're workshops where you're going to get your money's worth and you're going to learn something at the end of the day. So yeah, it's my 2 cents.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you both. So a few other really great resources. I had Kelly Perry from Team Flower on to talk about Instagram a few months ago, and she is just amazing. She's so giving and loving, and she's one of those people that you can tell has like a really beautiful energy inside of her. So teamflower.org, she has online and in real life types of opportunities for learning floral design. And then obviously Ryan O'Neill, it's not necessarily floral design, but also about floral business, right? If you're gonna do this, you need to kind of get your business sense in line as well. So he has a lot of really great resources on his blog. So we'll give that link to you as well. And Luxonomist, if you're looking for something kind of maybe in your neighborhood, or maybe you want to travel somewhere, Luxonomist has a great blog post where she compiled a bunch of different workshops, including our own, in there. So, I'm not there. As everyone said, there's so many really great opportunities. There are some that's a little more fluffy, right? And it's all about the picture that you get at the end of the day. But just kind of do your research and see what's out there. There's so many really great opportunities and a lot of really wonderful people out there that are willing to share their knowledge with you, because that's so important in a creative industry, I think. All right, guys. I think that's all we have time for. We have a few more questions that we didn't get to. I'm so sorry that we went over the time. I would say any other questions, but again, we're short on time. So this is it. If you think of new questions that you haven't posted, you can go ahead and post them in this event, or you can go ahead and email them over to my team at marketing@mayesh.com. We all get those. We love seeing your guys' comments and questions and thoughts and anything. If you have any other ideas about anything else, even something beyond this show, go ahead and shoot those over to that email as well. Be sure to save your seat for our next show happening on August 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And Allie will post that link for you guys. And it's that's it. So this is our closing. First, I wanted to just say thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this show, I hope that you follow our channel. If you found value in our show, I hope that you share the replay. Again, I'll put the replay up on our blog with all of the notes that we use for the show and all the links, so that way you guys have one place to go for all of that information. And thank you again for coming and watching and being a part of this. This means so much to me. Shelly, Dave, and I will be back next month. So send in your questions and ask us anything. With that, I hope you have a rocking day and have a good one.
Thanks,
Everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.